link to the Padlet is in the chat. If you have any questions, please add to that Padlet. And I'll turn it over to you, Jen.
Hi everyone, I'm Eleanor Jaffee, representing the U.S. Globe Evaluators Community of Practice. Thank you for joining our flash talk titled, Are We Making a Difference? Evaluation Tools for Telling Your Globe Story. Why is evaluation of Globe important? It's how Globe can understand and address the needs of the community. It's how we get information to improve Globe programming. And it's how we can demonstrate Globe program impacts. Demonstrating program impacts is especially critical in efforts to maintain public support and financial support for Globe. Here's something we're measuring that you may find useful for evaluating your program: science self-efficacy. Basically, this is the extent to which students feel like they can do science, and it can affect their decision to pursue science activities, education, and careers. So by building science self-efficacy, Globe can contribute to STEM workforce development. So let's say we want to know if and how much a Globe activity influences science self-efficacy. We might do a survey at the beginning and the end of the activity using the same items. Then we can compare the responses before and after to see how they change. We call this a pre-post design, meaning before and after. Usually, we use a series of items and a rating scale to measure one concept or idea. These three statements, and others not pictured here, are part of one single measure of science self-efficacy. There are lots of different measures you may find useful for evaluating your program. This example is from the survey we used to evaluate the Globe U.S. Student Research Symposia, but it could be used for other Globe programs and activities. It was conducted with paper and pen, but could be used in online surveys too. There are also many ways to present survey results: in tables, in charts, and in narrative form. Here, we've totaled the percent of students agreeing or strongly agreeing with the statements about science self-efficacy before and after the symposia. As you can see, agreement has increased quite a bit, which is a good result. Although agreement with the statement, "I am able to learn new things in science," did not increase as much, it also started higher. The N equals 164 in the chart title means that 164 students were included in the analysis. There may have been more that participated in the activity, but we had data for these items for 164 students. Here are some resources where you can find more survey measures to use. We'll put them in the chat during the live presentation, and you can also find them in the slides that will be available afterwards. If there's one thing we want you to take away from this presentation, it's that these resources are available. Researchers have already put the time and effort into creating and testing these measures to make sure they measure what they're supposed to measure. What might look like just a series of statements may represent years of study. As evaluators, we use the best measures we can find for our program's key outcomes. So take advantage of that for evaluation of your Globe program. And finally, here are some academic references if you want to take a deeper dive into the kind of evaluation measures we use. There are many others out there if you decide you want to learn more. So thanks again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the Q&A.
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Kennedy from the University of Texas at Tyler, and I'm honored to join my colleague, Michael Odell, in introducing a special initiative, a new book entitled The Globe Program: From Observation to Action, This is more than a publication, it's a call to action. After 30 years of incredible globe impact, now is the time to document, celebrate, and preserve the legacy and future of the GLOBE program.
Our purpose is clear: to showcase the global reach and real-world impact of the GLOBE program in environmental education, citizen science, and international collaboration. This will be published by Springer Nature with an anticipated release in 2026. If you've been a part of this movement, this book is for you.
This project is designed for a broad and inclusive audience: GLOBE educators, students, scientists, citizen scientists, NGO leaders, and policymakers. We want the world to see how GLOBE is building Earth system literacy, empowering youth through authentic research, and changing lives in classrooms and communities.
We welcome chapters on everything from classroom implementation and student symposia to scientist-educator partnerships and culturally responsive approaches. Whether you work in formal education, informal education, or the policy sphere, your story matters.
Proposals are due on September 1st, with full chapters due in January 2026. Peer review happens in March, and the book will be published in July 2026, just in time for GLOBE's next chapter.
Chapters should be about 4,500 to 6,500 words, single-spaced, APA 7 style. A template will guide you and will support you throughout the process. Think of this as both scholarly and accessible, written for impact, not just citation.
Visuals are welcome, but please provide them separately and ensure permissions are in place. We want your work to be seen and shared globally, and we'll help ensure this happens legally and clearly.
The chapter template includes all expected components: abstract, keywords, figures, findings, references, bios, plus room to acknowledge collaborators and list further resources. It's designed to support both experienced and first-time academic writers.
Please send your proposals to me at tkennedy@uttyler.edu with the subject line GLOBE Book Proposal and your last name. This is our moment. Let's document what we've built together over the past 30 years.
Let's make sure this story is told by those who lived it, and that means you.
Thank you.
Welcome to our presentation on how the GLOBE program advances science, education, and international cooperation. In our study, we want to understand, first, how does GLOBE contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs? Second, how does it foster diplomacy and cross-border collaboration? To explore these two questions, we designed a survey and distributed it across the GLOBE community in Africa. In total, 21 individuals from diverse backgrounds responded to our survey. Most respondents are mid-career professionals, primarily teachers and GLOBE observers, highly educated, and evenly split across STEM and policy roles. This diversity lends depth to our findings. Let's now turn to what we learned from their stories, their experiences, and their data, starting with how GLOBE aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals. Through our survey, we asked participants, which of the SDGs do you think GLOBE contributes to most? The results shown here highlight the SDGs most frequently linked to GLOBE activities. At the top of the list is SDG 15, Life on Land, cited by over half of the respondents. This reflects GLOBE's impacts on efforts focused on biodiversity, reforestation, land cover monitoring, and environmental stewardship. Next, SDG 13, Climate Action, and SDG 4, Quality Education, were each identified by nearly 48% of respondents. A powerful statement on how GLOBE promotes climate literacy and hands-on environmental science education. SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, also emerged strongly, with nearly 43% of respondents linking GLOBE to freshwater and water quality initiatives. But beyond the numbers, We wanted to know how these contributions are being made. So, we invited participants to describe in their own words how GLOBE activities contribute to the SDGs in their communities. And the answers were inspiring. One respondent shared, "Our school used GLOBE data to launch a reforestation campaign and inform the local authorities." Another told us, "We test water quality using GLOBE protocols, helping our community protect its health." And another wrote, "GLOBE enables students to collect and analyze environmental data, improving their scientific literacy." These quotes tell us that GLOBE isn't just about aligning with the SDGs on paper. It's about turning those goals into actionable, localized impact. With this foundation in place, we next asked, how effective is GLOBE in promoting environmental sustainability? And what real-world impacts are participants seeing in their communities? On a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 represents extremely effective, nearly half, 47.6%, shows the top rating. An additional 28.6% selected very effective. Notably, no respondents rated GLOBE as ineffective. The average score came out to a strong 4.24 out of 5, reflecting widespread confidence in GLOBE's value and real-world influence. But we didn't want to stop at perception. We also asked, have GLOBE activities resulted in tangible changes in your region? The answer, yes, according to 2/3, 67% of respondents. This indicates that GLOBE is not only perceived as impactful, but is actually generating measurable environmental and educational change in local communities. We then dug deeper. What kind of changes are people actually seeing? This visual summarizes the key themes that emerge from participants' own words, quotes that reflect the scope of GLOBE's impact.
The GLOBE program isn't only about collecting data or enhancing science education. It also acts as a powerful vehicle for diplomacy. We ask participants to reflect on the types of diplomacy they've seen emerge from their GLOBE experiences. The responses point to a variety of international networks of engagement. At the top of the list, scientific diplomacy was cited by nearly 86% of respondents. This illustrates how cross-border research, standardized protocols, and shared environmental challenges create bonds between countries, using science as a neutral, unifying language. Close behind was educational diplomacy, noted by 81% of respondents. These connections come through classroom exchanges, collaborative projects, and mutual appreciation across cultures, all centered around environmental learning. Community diplomacy was acknowledged by 2/3 of respondents. This shows that local schools, grassroots organizations, and citizen scientists are working together to solve shared regional problems. As we bring this presentation to a close, let us pause to reflect on what we've uncovered. The GLOBE program is far more than a platform for environmental science. It is a movement of learners, educators, scientists, and communities committed to understanding the Earth and to working together to protect it.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Czajkowski from the University of Toledo, and I'm going to talk about the NASA Science Activation Program and what the teams here listed, the 6 teams, have been doing for GLOBE. Science Activation is a program that started in 2016, funded by the Science Mission Directorate. There are currently 46 active teams, and it's to reach out, bring NASA science to people around the country. In 2024, NASA SciAct reached 119 million people in 76% of the counties in the country, which is pretty amazing. So here's my project, GLOBE Mission Earth, and my collaborators are listed here. You see, we try to use GLOBE and NASA assets with subject matter experts to infuse authentic science into the classroom for students. So we work with teachers, and then we work with the students. We have them present projects. We also work at the undergrad level with professors and the students there. So here's some examples. We have the students do GLOBE. We have them ask research questions, collect data, analyze the data, present the results. We do professional development for the teachers, engineering projects, public. We have My NASA Data is one of our projects, and we focus on urban heat islands and air quality, for example. Arctic and Earth Science is from the University of Alaska. Elena Sparrow is the lead of that project. And they are a culturally sustaining learning framework. They design and respectful collaborations, and STEM engagement for all. And you see some of their activities they developed. They've partnered with other SciAct teams and done things like Mission Mosquito. And I wanted to really highlight their Globe Grandma. So Globe Grandma is really cool. It has videos. There's videos that Grandma's made showing the students how to do science. For instance, here's green down and green up. Then there's NESIC. NESIC is led by Teresa Schwerin from IGES, and it's based on 3 pillars here shown: citizen science, NASA science investigations, and then key partnerships. And the goal is to enable participation in authentic NASA Earth STEM by lifelong learners. You see again authentic. Here's some examples. They do Mission Mosquito. So they've worked with the Smithsonian Science Education Center to make a community outreach project, SciStar to work with librarians, and then Globe with Globe Plus to reach out to citizen scientists. And then there's Learning Ecosystems in the Northeast. Lee Peak is the PI for that project out of the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. And you can see their focus here. Again, working with schools, building climate and data literacy. Also, though, working with communities, and that's a theme that's throughout science activation. Here's their reach map of where they've been active. Maine is one of their main places, and all their collaborators. And then they focused on the North American Phenology Campaign, the Ash and Hemlock Tree Health. Nature Notes is a great way to engage students in starting to learn science. And then there's a project with Places. So I want to talk about Places. Places is led up by Kirsten Daehler at West Ed, and their goal is to design professional learning to support teachers in bringing data-rich and place-based instruction into their classes, utilizing NASA assets. And some of the things you'll see is they bring in Globe, they bring in My NASA Data's the data visualizer, and really working on looking at data in place. And then Aaron Project. Aaron is based out of Wayne Risa. Lisa Ojiamwani is the lead, and they have kites, Aqua Rover and Terra Rover robots to collect data. And you can see here on the left, that's where all the kite observations have been taken. Kids have these frustration kites in the lower left. They've made those, and they've collected data. A really engaging program. So I wanted to leave with this, and thank you. And there's the SciAct website and the Globe Mission Earth website. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, I'm Holly Cole, and I manage the implementation of Globe Observer under the NASA Earth Science and Education Collaborative, which is part of NASA's Science Activation Program. 10 years ago, in 2015, we received funding to start a project that would bring new communities and individuals to the Globe program as citizen scientists. That idea became Globe Observer. Today, I'm honored to summarize some of the impacts Globe Observer has had on science and beyond. When we started, we established metrics to measure success. We wanted to improve the distribution of Globe data both spatially and temporally. We hoped the increased data would lead to more published science, student research, and community science based on Globe data. Fourth, we wanted to expand the Globe community to welcome volunteers from all ages and professions. Finally, we hoped that by participating in Globe with Globe Observer, participants would increase their science literacy. Today, I want to show you how we've done in meeting those metrics. We succeeded in bringing new data to Globe. Globe Observer added more than 2 million observations to Globe on every continent and ocean basin. Here's the map of clouds data, mosquito habitat data, land cover data, tree heights, and some eclipse data. All of that data has enabled new science. Since launch, 22 peer-reviewed papers have been published using data from Globe Observer. Some highlights from those publications include: you observed an increase in contrail formation during the 2024 total solar eclipse in North America. You were the first to spot a dangerous invasive mosquito, Anopheles stevensi, in Madagascar. Thousands of land cover photos have been used to improve AI models for classifying land cover, and other land cover observations supported the interpretation of satellite data of ice on rivers. Our third objective was to create opportunities for student research and community science. These are two examples of success for this metric. In 2022, high school student Mateo Kimura and college freshman Praki A. Engel received one of the American Geophysical Union's Outstanding Student Awards for their work analyzing mosquito habitat and land cover data from Globe Observer. An interesting community science project was a collaboration with Dixie National Forest in Utah, United States. They used Globe Observer land cover to recreate a series of historical photos to document change in the forest. One of the primary drivers of Globe Observer was to bring new communities to Globe by giving them an easy way to get involved. Because Globe Observer is easy to use, it became part of programming at libraries, corporations like Accenture, retirement communities, parks and forests, camps, youth organizations like Scouts, Civil Air Patrol, and 4-H, and more. We are thrilled to welcome these new communities to the Globe family. One community that wouldn't have been involved in Globe without Globe Observer is the cruise ship community. Alison Krusak, a scientist who brought Globe to this community, says, many cruise operators hire education coordinators and citizen science coordinators, and they look for interesting projects that can be done on ships. The first project we usually do is Globe Clouds. Since October 2016, there have been 3,256 cloud observations from cruise ships. They have contributed important data that would otherwise be very difficult to get. For example, their ground-based photos from the Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica revealed the prevalence of low-lying haze. The presence of this haze had been uncertain in satellite data. While most cruise ship volunteers are collecting Globe Clouds data, one scientist, Dr. Maria Vernet, is experimenting with Globe Observer trees to measure the height of icebergs. Those are the green dots in the lower center right map. Globe Observer has enabled nearly 300,000 individuals to participate in Globe on their own. They have contributed a great deal to the project. Om from India, for example, has contributed 28,150 observations. Monique, a taxi driver in the Bahamas, teaches people about Globe mosquitoes and clouds in her community. Carmen contributed to Globe Clouds so regularly that she identified an issue with the satellite comparison system, resulting in thousands more comparisons. John led Scouts in Australia to collect land cover data in the continent's interior, where data are sparse. The stories go on and on. Seeing the impact each of you have had on Globe and how Globe has influenced you in turn is the greatest mark of a success for Globe Observer. I will close by saying thank you to the amazing Globe community for a decade of success with Globe Observer.
I wanted to just take a moment to thank all of our presenters. These are really excellent videos. You all did a really great job of summarizing your work and the impacts of Globe in the various ways and how you've assessed those impacts. So thank you all for these presentations and for submitting the videos. At this point, there are a few questions in the Padlet. If there are other questions, maybe I can give you a couple seconds here to add any questions you have. I do see one question that's been responded to in the Padlet around the report for the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm wondering if all of our presenters might speak to that a little bit. Do you have reports on any of your work? Do you have any documentation of Globe impact? Yeah, we can take anyone, a response to that from anyone.
So go ahead. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lawani, and the report on, the study on the contribution of Globe to the Sustainable Development Goal and as well as to diplomacy has been conducted by Ylliass, Lawani, and I. And it's important to mention that the current results are just a preliminary result. So we are still working on developing a full-scale survey that will cover all the different countries involved in the Globe program. So currently, we only have a result for West Africa. But in mid-August, as soon as we secure the IRB approval, we'll be able to launch it. We'll be able to launch a global survey. And the results as well as the paper will be made available to the whole community. The data also will also be made available. Thank you. I'm not sure if you guys want to add something.
Thanks so much, Odell. Oh, sorry, Ylliass, you have something to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add that I would like to thank all those people who have responded to this preliminary survey, mainly from Africa region, Global Alumni Group, and country coordinators. So, and I would like also to thank the regional office, Mr. Mark Brittany and Rogelyn, all the group there who have been supporting all this support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ylliass. Eleanor, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have some of our evaluation reports from the Student Research Symposia publicly available through the University of New Hampshire Scholars Repository, and I'll drop the link right here in the chat. And these have been shared with the GPO in the past, so they are kind of part of that corpus of globe impact resources. And we did recently send out, I'm just going to plug a message to all partners. This was in the US, but I know the GPO is looking always for impact reports. So I'm sure Jackie, like that could go through you or anybody else, because it is so important right now to collectively show the impact. And I want to thank Odell and Teresa for offering this opportunity to contribute to the book as well.
Thanks, Eleanor. Nektaria, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jackie. We also have 2 reports from the evaluation working group that were put together in the past. One had teacher feedback regarding the impact that GLOBE has for themselves and their students. And the other one had to do with GLOBE alumni, how the program impacted their career choices, their trajectories, and also regarding their willingness to give back to the program, participating in organizing future events. I think these were available on the GLOBE website. I'm not sure, there has been a reorganization, but anyway, they are available for anyone who would like to take a look at those.
Thank you. I was not aware of the report on the GLOBE alumni, so that is really interesting to hear. Does anyone else have any questions for our presenters at this point? A lot of what's in the Padlet, I really appreciate what a lot of people are saying in the Padlet. A lot of thanks, and you've all done a wonderful job. I've appreciated hearing about all these efforts to look at the impact of GLOBE and where the outcomes are and how we're making a difference. Hi, Mark. Go ahead.
Hey, Jackie and everyone. Can't see myself now, so I don't know if I'm in the picture or not. But I want to acknowledge all the Lawanis that's on this call. So we have Dr. Abdelaziz, we have Dr. Ismail. These are foremost scientists in their field. Ismail is a former surgeon in West Africa, and he does a lot of good work for even virtual operations and all of that. And in spite of all the busy schedules that they have, they still maintain the links with the GLOBE program. So I want to acknowledge all 3 of them, and great job, guys. We are very proud of you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
There are several country coordinators that have started as GLOBE students, and those are success stories. So those are impacts that are, the action speaks louder than, what they might even say for themselves on how much they have done and grown through the GLOBE program. And it's so heartwarming to have all these young people now be leaders in our program.
Thank you very much, Elena.
Yeah.
You know what? Nothing would have been done without you guys who have been the leaders and who have pushed us, who has been there to support us. And I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge your leadership and yeah, how you have been impacting our group, our global alumni group 6, that's numbers of years. Thank you very much. So it will be also good to have the testimony from you guys as teachers, as country coordinators, who are at the beginning of the group program, who have put your life. I just want to say hello to the country coordinator of Benin, the previous one, Mrs. Aligena, who have been bitten by the mosquito of globe. Okay, so she succeeded in giving me that virus, and you guys, you have been wonderful team surrounding our group and supporting us. That is a wonderful thing. We are a family, and we will never leave globe because globe is forever. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
most welcome. Thank you.
I see a question in the chat also from Svetlana. What do stakeholders want to know about Globe? Most of them want to know about students or student results, but what results are they most interested in? Svetlana, do you want to say a little bit more about that question? And I'd be interested in hearing if anyone has any thoughts on that.
I guess I would just add, so I've been working with Nektaria on evaluation of our Globe Mission Earth project for a long time, and with Nektaria and in the first evaluation working group, we have been looking at both sort of affective characteristics and how students feel motivated, interested, what kind of transferable skills they have, like critical thinking, collaboration, and so forth, and also looking at science skills, science-related skills, and knowledge. And I think there are different stakeholders have place different kinds of emphasis on those varying skills. We want to see broad transferable skills that students can take into the world, whether they become scientists or any other kind of professional. And we also want to know about science knowledge and skills. And it's a tricky balance when we can only collect so much data. The more affective skills are more difficult to collect in some ways. They're more difficult to ensure reliability and so forth. We make an assumption that we want all of those, but I'm interested to know if we're needing to target our evaluation resources, what do our funders and other stakeholders care most about, so we can be strategic.
As an evaluator on a science activation project, I have a lot of thoughts about that, but I wonder if any of our presenters want to share any thoughts in response to Svetlana's question. It's an excellent question.
I agree, it's a great question, Svetlana. And if you may remember, we had actually included that question in the teacher survey, trying to understand what the teachers would actually like to learn about the program, and then also who they would like to share their feedback with, right, so that we could better tailor what we could offer to them, survey-wise, support-wise, and so on. So I think that's a really great question. I still think it's a great question.
And for us, for our community, we're a lot of in rural places where we have a lot of Alaska Native students, it is their interest in how they could help their communities and the actions that they take. And so, I mean, it's their own values that we're are focusing on because of what is meaningful and relevant to them, to their learning and to how they apply that learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Elena, I believe you collect data in a multitude of ways, right? In some ways, your interactions with the communities directly influence the data.
Yes. Yes, and that's one thing that distinguishes our professional development is including community members and not only educators, because educators who come from outside of Alaska don't stay very long. And so it's a constant change of educators. And so we wanted community members who are vested in the community to be part of that group that is engaging the youth in the learning and applying that learning.
I might just chime in with a little bit different angle on what data are collected and what the impacts might be from GLOBE. We, with the NASA SciAct Places project, did some need sensing from educators to find out, as they're working with data with their students, what support do they need? And I'm happy to share a screen briefly if that would be interesting to people, but I think that there's a good place for us to support educators, not only in the collecting of data, but also the meaning making or sense making of that data. So this is just one piece of data from that survey where we were asking educators, what is it that you most need? And these educators are from across the United States, primarily teaching earth science to middle and high school students. But they commented that they did need training on different tools to help their students interact with the data. 51% said that they needed more support on those tools. And I think that's a great part of what the GLOBE program can provide also, is not just the tools, but support as a community in the use of those tools. But they also wanted access to data that's relevant. And so whether you're collecting the data yourself or you're drawing on NASA data or other data, there's a lot of interest in this local to global, and then also global back to local. So what's happening with earth science data in our region, and then how does that connect to what's happening in larger regions or the globe? And then a lot of support around integrating that use of data into lessons. And these teachers were primarily formal education, so in school settings, not so much in out of school contexts. So I just thought that was relevant from a different angle in terms of collection of data, and not so much exactly about the GLOBE program, but many of these teachers were participating in GLOBE and then sharing what their needs were for support.
Thanks, Kirsten. That's really helpful. Actually, it's really wonderful context for a lot of the work that we're doing. So thanks for providing that. And also the reminder that it's not always about the student outcomes, but the educators as well, and what the educators are able to do and what they're getting out of using GLOBE.
Maybe I'll just share one more resource if it's helpful to people as we're in this sharing resources stage. But in the NASA SciAct Places project, we've also developed a plugin that can help pull NASA data related to Earth, air, and water. So if you're working on making that connection local to global, it's called a plugin, and it allows you to pull data by region and particular days and whatnot. So just share that landing page, and there's useful resources there. People should feel free to reach out if they have questions.
So that was really helpful. And I'm noticing also, if you take a look in the Padlet, there's a couple of resources posted there. So I'd encourage you all to take a look at them, take a look at some of the, there's some emails to the report from the presentation from Ylliass and Odell. So feel free to be in touch with each other. I'm really looking forward to seeing evaluation and measuring GLOBE's impact move forward. So thank you all for all of your work and for all of your presentations today. Thank you for being here today and for listening to these presentations.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you all.